What's up, Thrashers, and welcome back once again to the Thrash Maniac 99 YouTube channel, and I am back with yet another album review, and today I am talking about the 12th studio offering from Swedish melodeath slash thrash metal legends, The Crown of Thorns. This comes out on October 11th on Metal Blade Records, and like I said, this is album number 12. Technically album number 10, because their first two albums were under the name Crown of Thorns, before they ended up changing the name to The Crown. And of course, like I said, this is a Swedish melodic death slash thrash metal band. For many years, I always considered them more thrash metal, particularly in their earlier albums, being a little bit more on the thrash metal side, but definitely over time, there's been a lot more of melodic death metal touches, but still retaining some thrash metal in there. I, of course, reviewed their last album, Royal Destroyer, and I thought that was a damn good album. So I was curious to hear what The Crown had to offer this time around, and, well, kicking things off with I Hunt with the Devil, you get, like, real heavy chunks, riffs, and blasts. Feel closer to, like, classic death metal. But then it does get more thrashy, despite, like, more tremolo riffs that kind of harken back to, like, German thrash, like Creator and Sodom. But it is very aggressive, like, right off the rip. It is one of the most aggressive tracks on the entire album, as you do get some, like, big Slayer dive bombs, but there's also some melody, eerie, clean melodies before you end on a more melodic solo. So right off the rip, off to a good start with I Hunt with the Devil, and then pretty much as we go through this album, like, there are definite thrash moments that show up on here, but I would argue this is a little bit more on the melodic death metal side of their sound rather than straight up thrash. Like Church Burner, I will say this was, in my opinion, one of the thrashier songs, even though it's mostly big triplet chugs, atonal melodies, and blasts, but the riff work kind of reminds me of stuff that, like, Testament and recent Creator would do, and that's make those triplet chugs sound more aggressive and rather just extra chunkified for a thrash song. And then Martyrian, there we go. This one has a more clean intro, which was something cool for the album. Then again, that trope does come back later on in the album, but this song kind of felt like the most punky song The Crown has ever written, at least from what I've listened to over the years. It's just like mostly power chords and punky beats. Not quite really thrash, but it does get more melodic and blasty towards the end. Gone to Hell. Now this is one of those songs that I thought was very, very strange. Like, I will say, like, Gone to Hell, The Night Is Now, those two songs in particular were the most strange songs on the album. Like, Gone to Hell starts off really sweet with a great bass line and clean melody on top, or it might have just been a normal melody, just coming together to build the song up, and then it almost becomes like a classic metal song, like classic heavy metal, like Judas Priest a little bit. However, felt like bland Judas Priest. Like perhaps some, like, big, mediocre hit that would have been on, like, Hellbent for Leather or British Steel, but just done with, like, extra oomph in the guitars in terms of the sound. Other than that, the song itself I just saw was just odd. Really, really odd. And then The Night Is Now, like, it does have drum grooves, atonal melodies, but it sticks mostly to mid-tempo, which The Crown have done solid mid-tempo songs in the past, but this one, I just couldn't quite get into it. I just saw it just kind of dragged a little bit. It does get thrashy at the very end, and that was the most energetic moment of the song apart from the opening drum groove. But in between those tracks, you get Howling at the Warfield, big blasts and thrash riffs, almost like you took Sodom and Exodus and mashed them together, and it works. You get more melody coming back. Well, then again, I might as well quit talking about melody because it's melodic all the way through. But there's cool guitar harmonies and lead work. Like, I will say, when the leads do show up on this album, they're quite tasteful, and most of the time, they're harmonized, which definitely adds more flavor to the guitars. God King, this one we're back to aggressive, we're back to thrash, but with tremolo melodies on top, almost like something you would hear at the Gates too, which then again, at the Gates has a history with the Crown that I could talk about in a ranking video. But yeah, it was like, okay, we're finally getting back into more energy. And then the Agitator, which was the shortest song of the album at just under 2 minutes, but it's atonal, it's thrashy like Slayer. It's a nice, brutal 2 minutes, I will say. And then Where Nightmares Belong, sweet drums and bass, and then you get into this like stop and go blast and thrash riff, but it goes into more double time and it's more melodic, and then odd female vocals at the very end. But then you get to the closing song of the standard edition of the album, The Storm That Comes, which was the longest track of the album at nearly 7 minutes. Somber, clean intro, and yes, you get more classic metal riffs, but I think they were done more effectively on this track. Like, it didn't feel as cut cloth generic as Gone to Hell was. And it does get into like big double time stomps similar to something you would hear Bolt Thrower do. Or rather, in this case, it felt closer to like something Testament would have done. It gets atonal, and of course, another fantastic harmonized lead. So those are all the songs on the standard edition, but there are 3 bonus tracks. And actually, I will say the bonus tracks, I think, were better than half of the standard album. Eternally Infernal, eerie, clean intro, then it gets into like almost death metal, tremolos and blasts, but it thrashes very well with a catchy chorus, even though they're just repeating the song title over and over. It's quite catchy. Excuse me. No Fuel for God. More angular riffs, so definitely experimenting on some of these bonus tracks. Like, there's a more angular riff, then it gets into a Testament double time groove, and then the final one of the 3, Mind Collapse, kind of similar to I Hung with the Devil. It's thrashy, it's melodic, it's aggressive, blasty, some groove, which groove doesn't really pop up at all on the rest of the album, just on this bonus track, but it was a tastefully done groove with another fantastic harmonized lead section. So yeah, I felt like this album lost a lot of luster in comparison to Royal Destroyer, whereas Royal Destroyer I thought was damn good, like experimenting with their sound a little bit. Here, kind of felt like retread, and there's still some damn good tracks on here, but there's quite a few that I was just kind of like, could have lived without. Perhaps they could have trimmed the fat on some of these songs to make it feel like a more cohesive listen, at least in my mind. But overall, I'm going to give it a 3 out of 5. It's still good. It's not a bad album by any stretch of the imagination. It's a good album, just may not be one I'll go back to as often. But of course, those are just my opinions. What did you guys think? Let me know in the comments below. Don't forget to like, comment, share, subscribe, all that fun stuff. Keep your horns high and your dreams wet.